Hi, I'm Mary, and my segment will be focusing on the impact COVID-19 has had on the music industry and how it affects young people. I work for the Music to My Ears project as a project worker. In addition to that, I also host a radio show for community radio station Kane FM, and I try to link the two aspects of work together whenever possible, which has resulted in a great partnership between the two organisations. I also use my radio presence to share young artists' music, which sometimes is created by the young people from the Music to My Ears project. We use all forms of media in the sessions with our young people, but often these sessions will be music focused, hence the name Music to My Ears. COVID-19 hasn't changed this. In fact, it has given young people more time to focus on the music. And throughout the past year, I have done my absolute best to help them with this. On my radio show, I play rap music, specifically British rap music, such as grime and drill. My rap music knowledge comes in handy because often these are the genres the young people on our project listen to. With all music genres, but especially rap music, there are so many different kinds of people who all have different opinions, views, and experiences with that genre. So I want to ensure you get to see the music industry from multiple perspectives. You've heard mine. Now I want you to hear it from a professional music producer. My first guest is UK grime music producer ZimZima. Hello.
Hey, how you doing? You good, yeah?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much. It's getting warmer. That's a good thing, isn't it? So
It is. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
For those who aren't totally aware what the role of a music producer is, could you give me a little summary of what your work involves?
Yeah, sure. So me being a music producer, I simply take a load of instruments. I play piano, I play a bunch of other instruments. We program them into a DAW, which is called a digital audio workstation. We layer them together and we arrange them into what's called a song. I work with MCs and rappers, sometimes singers, in particular MCs. And then what happens is you get an MC in and then he listens to the beat. We call it a beat. He listens to the sort of production that I've produced, different sounds, different synths, different instruments that I've put together to be and arranged into a song. And then what he did, vocals on top of it. And then we have a full-fledged song. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do. So, yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So I introduced you as a grime music producer.
Yep.
In today's conference, we have participants and guests from all across Europe, some of whom may not have ever heard of grime or drill music. How would you describe the two?
Grime music is a UK sound, developed, born and bred and raised and matured here in the UK. From the streets of London all the way through to the Midlands. It's a blend of jungle, hip hop and mainly garage music. It started off as you had like the garage raves or the club scenes. Back then it was all about the garage DJs and the producers, and the MCs would come, microphone controllers or master of ceremony rappers. They would come up, they would rap, and then that would make the DJ look good. And what they found was it was all about the DJ and the producer and not so much of the MCs. And what the MCs did was they were looking for a sound to kind of tailor to their voice. And so they decided to take garage and make a darker version of it and sort of create a bit of space in there for their vocals. And that's pretty much how grime was born. It's brought to light some notable MCs such as Dizzy Rascal, Wiley, Stormzy, Lady Leisha. It consists of loads of synths, heavy bass. Why I really enjoy the music a lot is because producing it just allows me to create so much. I'm not limited to one rule when I'm creating grime. Notable crews and MCs are Gendor, the Newham Generals, Boy Better Know. So that's grime. Drill, to my knowledge, it's derived from Chicago drill or New York. It's very skippy. It's heavy bass orientated, particularly with the 808. There is a certain place where you put the snare, a certain place where you put the kick drum, where you put your hi-hats. The hi-hats are very sort of like skippy. There is a difference between that and grime.
One thing I did want to touch on actually is the criticism, because drill, because it's a newer genre, has had a lot of criticism, and I think grime does tag along with that too. What are your opinions on that?
I'm not encouraging violence at all. I'm not here to encourage that. But what I can say is I can relate to the youth, because when I was young, our music, grime in my generation, when it was growing up, labels didn't want to sign it. People didn't want to push it forward. Raves got shut down, certain songs were banned. As somebody that came up in that era, I've got a lot of empathy and I understand where the youths are coming from. What we also have to remember is that there are tunes out there, not just in drill, not just in grime, but in rap as well and hip hop, which are positive and have a positive message. The ones that portray a negative sort of view, That's the first side of my answer. The second side is these kids are talking about what they know, but I was fortunate enough to have the right people around me to push me forward to getting an education and leaving this side. What stuck with me was the music. Some of these youths, they ain't got that, and all they have as a positive outlet is their music. And so when you listen to what they're talking about their frustrations, they're talking about what they've been through, they're talking about what they have done, which I'm not encouraging, but I guess I can understand because they're talking about their frustrations. Me being that age before and having a 22-year-old brother who I'm trying to guide in the right way, I can relate to them. And so I do think sometimes, yes, in a sense, music is a contributing factor, but I wouldn't say that's the reason for why kids are going to jail. In our music, we're talking about what we've been through, what some of them have had to do, what they've done and what they're guilty for what they've done. And now they've got a better lifestyle because of it, and they're apologizing for the stuff they've done. Our music isn't the only music that has an effect on people. You've got metal as well, mosh pits, the likes of Marilyn Manson, Slipknot. It's an art form. So obviously I would always say people just try and read between the lines and understand that this is an art form, and some of these kids come from deprived backgrounds, and all they have to actually talk about how they feel is literally through a beat, through music.
That's a brilliant take. I completely agree with you, especially on the second half, because the work we do, a lot of the artists and the young people that we work with, they're into drill music, and we will help them record that, and if we can, we'll educate them, but often it's their reality. We just have to try and stop them from doing it in real life. It's their reality, that's their reality, and the focus shouldn't be on stopping the music, it should be stopping the reality.
One other thing that I do tend to do is I tend to speak to the youngers and I tell them that, look, are you sure you live that lifestyle? A lot of youngers don't live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Some of the guys are doing it just to be cool. There's a lot of MCs or rappers out there that don't live half of the life that they're trying to portray. That I certainly don't. I'm avid. I say that straight up front. I say it to rappers that I work with grime, and even with drill. I know drill is under scrutiny right now, but it's music. It's an art form, and I think if it's changed a lot of lives. It's made a lot of MCs, when you listen to them, when you look at big notable MCs, Unknown T, Ambush. You look at these guys. They talk about their life, of what they've been through, and then they kind of say, look where I am now, and they try and appeal to the youngers and make sure that they don't make the mistakes they make. And I think that's what I'm trying to do as well.
And that's to be applauded, I think.
Thank you.
It takes a strong, confident person to admit that they're not a part of that life, even in an industry that sometimes glorifies it. It shouldn't be something to be proud of to be involved in a life of crime, but it can be if you used to be, and now you've actually come out on the positive end of it, and you've made an amazing life for yourself. And music can do that. A lot of the rappers started out that way, with not a lot of money, in a life of crime. Absolutely. And now they're rich and famous, and they're definitely not doing that anymore. So.
See, they don't need to. If they did it because they enjoyed it, they'd be still on the road doing what they're doing, but they're not doing that, which basically means that they want it out.
So going back in time now, where did your passion for music begin, and how did it flourish into what it is now?
I always say my greatest influence in music, it was my father. He was and still is a singer. He sings in predominantly Indian Bollywood music. My dad used to sing what's called Gawalis and Ghazals, right? So what these are is they are poetic, religious type music. You're talking, the language of which these songs are sung. The best way I could make you understand is if you look at Shakespeare, the way that Shakespeare used to write, in the Pakistani Indian version of that. And I used to go to these gigs. I used to watch my dad sing. I remember watching my dad record his album, when I was in the studio at like 10 years old. I used to watch my dad sing. I've listened to a lot of people since I was young. Michael Jackson, absolutely love his music. And then you go to sort of the Dr. Dre's, the Eminem, the hip hop era, and then you've got the UK sound. So then you've got jungle, you've got drum and bass, garage, grime, and then that's something that really spoke out to me. And so watching my dad record his music, I was really, really interested in it. And then so from that point onwards, as I grew up, my dad saw me trying to mess around on the keyboard and stuff, and then he sent me piano lessons. So then there you go, I'm classically trained a little bit. I left playing classical music because I felt it was a bit too formal for me, and then I started to MC when everyone was MCing. I wasn't a good MC. So my dad found I enjoyed doing that, and then he bought me a studio. I started making beats on that, and so I released some tunes in my school. People said to me, your lyrics are good, but who made the beat? I'm like, I made the beat. They were like, yo, that beat is mad, it's dope. So then I realized that, okay, my place is probably production. My dad basically said, he advised me to make sure that I have something to fall back on. So I went away, studied my mechanical engineering degree. I worked in a few companies. My last job, I was the technical manager at the airport. I got made redundant. During that time, when we were on furlough, that's the time when I decided to fully take music seriously, because it was mainly a therapy for me, mainly to sort of get me off feeling negative and depressed during the lockdown, to kind of help me from falling off the rails and doing something stupid. I turned to music. There's this amazing DJ called Mary Grimes that played my first beat. That sort of gave me sort of the morale and boost I needed. Yeah, you know what? If someone likes it and it's played on the radio, maybe I should carry this on. And here I am.
It's amazing to hear that your dad supported you so much with music, because you know, we often come across people that aren't as supported with it, or they just have no one. They'll come to us for that support.
This is the difference, is that I've had a support system where I've had a male figure in my life, and so he understands where my mentality was coming from when I was young growing up. The poor kids are lost. Yeah, they don't have what I had. In fact, you know what I'm saying? So what I try and do is I try and take them under my wing, and I try and tell them, look, I hear where you're coming from. I know people that have been through what you've been through.
You mentioned earlier on that you were made redundant due to COVID.
I was having a chat with a lot of DJs just to get their insight as well as my own, because I think it's important that you don't just hear it from me, you hear it from a bunch of other guys as well. I'm in a producer collective called The Circle. We feel like the industry as a whole has been neglected. You've got shows, you've got all of that sort of stuff that was banned. I was speaking to one of my mates, Jeddah, and he was telling me the culture comes from DJ sets. For those that don't know, it's a set. A DJ would put together a bunch of beats. He would call up some notable MCs. He would go to a radio station. The MCs will come together and they'll have what's called a grime set. Okay, and each MC would say about 16 or 8 bars, right? And then what would happen is the microphone will get passed along, and this is good promo for the MCs, it's good promo for the radio station, it's good promo for the DJ, it's good promo for me as a producer, because I would give my beats to the DJ would include that in his set, the MCs would hear it, and then there you go, there's business starts that way. When the set stopped, right, the whole industry came at a standstill. The kids that are growing up can't afford a studio. They look for, you know, spending £20, £30 an hour to go and record. They can't. And so now what you do when I'm trying to produce a song and there's an artist I want to work with, he ain't got a studio and he can't go to a studio because of the lockdown. And then so obviously my work is stopped now. And then that's the frustration that it's having on the youths. Some of the older MCs that are more established, you know what I'm saying, they've got the money, so they can invest and get the studio. Being cooped up and isolated, it stopped their creativity as well. And so yeah, that's the impact.
And so, as a father of young children and a music creator, I'm sure you'll have young listeners.
Yeah.
What do you think the effect of COVID-19 is to young people outside of the music industry?
What used to happen to me was, you know, when I was looking to change jobs, I would throw my CV out there. I would have 4 interviews lined up within a week. By the end of those 4 interviews, I would have 4 job offers. Now I'm stuck for who I'm going to take on as a role. It went from that to having 4 interviews in a year and also getting rejected. The reason being is because there's people out there that are more experienced than me, and so obviously where job seekers had the pick of the bunch, the tables have turned. It's actually the companies now that have the pick of the bunch, because there's more unemployed people than companies that are seeking. Now, if me, a 30-year-old man that is struggling with all the experience I have, can you imagine what a 19-year-old is going through?
Thank you for that. So what advice would you give to the support workers who are working with these struggling young people who are interested in making music? How can they help the young person in their music journey?
Really try and understand who they are, because what it is they feel, because I was that young before, they do get angry at the world in some sense. And so obviously they feel like, you know, when you hear their lyrics, try and understand why they're saying what they're saying. You know, they'll probably end up listening to their idols that are up and coming right now. That's why if you're a prominent figure, you're going to have a lot of power to stop the negativity. Have patience with them. Really, they do need a lot of patience, man. And just, support them all they need, because some of these children, that's all they have. It gives them structure through their day. And so if the music is doing that, definitely encourage it. I'm an avid supporter in not, you know, promoting violence in any way, shape or form. So definitely, you know, do have a listen to their lyrics and try and advise them. But just remember that, like, that is their life. They do look to you for that support, and they do look to you for that sort of like respect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice directly for young up and coming artists wanting to pursue a music career?
I'm a 30-year-old man, and I've only just started to release music right now, and I've had the success. I'm working with some really big artists, and if I can do that, And I know it's corny and I know it's cheesy, but if I can do that, imagine you at the age of 20 years old or 19, you can really do a lot. I would say be patient with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't give up. And I know that's corny. Whether it's an hour or 15 minutes a day, writing a song or producing something or practicing that dance move or whatever it is, I would say just dedicate some time to your craft on a daily basis at least, because it does add up. Don't chase the industry. The industry will chase you. It will show up once you focus on making something that you like and that you love. Everybody will show up.
ZimZima, thank you so much. You've given us a brilliant insight.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
For anyone watching this who wants to check out ZimZima's work, I want to mention that in the background of this segment, his tracks have been playing. And if you look at the bottom left corner of your screen, will be the track titles. ZimZima, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, thank you all for listening. Thank you for giving me the chance to sort of speak, Mary. And, everybody just stay safe out there.
A is one of the young people that has been working with us on the Music to My Ears project, and I wanted to bring him on to talk to him about how music has affected his life and how COVID-19 has affected his life as well. Welcome, A. Hi.
Are you right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good.
Briefly describe your life a few months before you got involved with Music to My Ears.
A few months before I got involved into music, I was still messing around with the criminal sort of waste stuff, and when I got into music, that's when I started putting my head down and trying to invest my time into something else.
So it gave you a positive distraction?
Yeah.
Awesome, I'm glad to hear that. Since you've been working with us, I know that you mentioned that music has been a big change for you. Has it changed any other aspects of your life?
When I started getting into music, it makes me more productive with my time. So instead of going out there hanging around with mates and stuff, I put my time into music, trying to make tracks for myself, upload them and see how far it takes me.
Brilliant. And I know that you've got a newly created CV, haven't you? So you're applying for jobs.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. COVID-19, it's obviously affected us all massively all across the world. Yeah. Has it affected the way that you create and enjoy music?
In a way, yeah, it might have, to stop me going places and interacting and putting people on the music with me. But I prefer doing it independent anyway. But other people, yeah, it's probably impacted them.
How do you listen to your music? Is it through streaming or is it because of COVID that it's been streaming mainly?
COVID.
Okay, so before COVID, how would you listen to your music?
Well, over the phone. But I'm saying, like concerts and stuff, wireless, you won't be able to go to stuff like that. That's a bit of a letdown as well.
Well, it's quite widely known that people have been using lockdown as a way to discover new hobbies and be really productive with themselves and their spare time. Do you think COVID-19 has resulted in more people getting into music?
Depends, because most of the people that was interested in music before COVID-19 would do the music. But now they've been probably stuck at home. Music might be one of their hobbies they might have found, but there's other ones out there as well.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Do you think lockdown has given young people involved in the criminal justice system an opportunity to possibly think twice about what they're involved in?
Yeah, but at the same time, no, because COVID-19 has taken away loads of jobs and it's leaving people without money, so people want to make money either way. So I don't think that's going to help them, but they need money at the same time and not many places are hiring.
So you think it possibly could be actually creating a higher rise in the crime rate? Mm-hmm. And your mental health, do you think COVID-19 has affected your own mental health in any way?
It did for a little while, yeah, when I was stuck indoors because I was trying to keep out of trouble. So what I did, I basically kept myself away from everyone else, trying to focus on myself. And it did impact me after like about 6-7 months later when I was indoors. When you started, I don't know, when you get that urge where you just want to go out, you want to do this, but you can't, you're stuck indoors. The same way as lockdown, and it just plays on your head a bit and makes you a bit crazy. But that's why people need more activities like music to my ears and stuff like that so they can go to it and interact with people.
Have you been tempted to go back to your previous ways because of COVID-19, because of the spare time? I know you said that because of the loss of jobs that a lot of people may actually be going into crime, but having been in it previously, have you ever been tempted to go back due to COVID?
Yeah, every time. Like I said before, the money, no one's hiring and stuff, so then you're thinking this is the only way that I can make myself money without working for someone else or working minimum wage and not earning as much. So that's why people, I think, go out their own way and do the same thing as they did before.
I think you've been brilliant. Since you've been working with us, you have made amazing progress. It is natural for someone in your situation with your challenges to be tempted, but the fact that you've actually resisted against them temptations, it should really be applauded. So well done. And thank you for coming on today, A. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for listening to my segment focusing on the impact COVID-19 has had on the music industry and how it affects young people. Back to Ryan.